You know, Japan produces some pretty cool stuff. I mean, some of the best games from the past few decades have either released first in Japan or released exclusively in Japan. There are some really nice people out there who know the Japanese language and translate these games for us so we can enjoy them to the fullest. However, it takes a long time for these guys to translate all of this Japanese, if it even happens. Besides, self-reliance is underrated. Now, if you're a chowderhead like me, you probably only know one language, and that's Merc. But what if you want to broaden your horizons? Well, you could take a Japanese course at school, but the course and the books might be really costly in the end. You could buy Rosetta Stone, but that's like $200 at least. Now, I don't know about you, but I'm not a great learner in the classroom setting. I've tried games like My Japanese Coach before, and it's not long before I'm bored and frustrated, so I just move it off to the side. I've always wanted to learn Japanese, but I've never found a way that works for me. And now this is starting to sound like an infomercial. And as much as I love me some infomercials, I bought this game on a whim on Steam the day it released. I mean, I didn't even know this was a thing until I bought it. But I saw the $7 price tag and the good reviews, and I figured, what the heck, I'll give it a shot. It's been one of the best decisions I've ever made. Hiragana Battle is an educational game. It teaches the player Hiragana, one of the three forms of the Japanese language, in the wrapper of a traditional RPG. Misaki, your Japanese instructor, gives you lessons. You'll then set out to the world map and fight Hiragana characters by selecting the matching sound they represent. The story, which isn't of much importance, goes like this. Noboru, a strange, unkempt man, is summoning Hiragana characters into the real world in hopes of taking over the land. It's up to you and your friends to fight off the Hiragana warriors and seal the gates before Noboru gains too much leverage and conquers Japan and all around it. But of course, you don't know any Japanese at all, so you have to hit the books before you're able to save the world. Hiragana Battle is made using the RPG Maker engine, an engine I quite like, and the game looks very good for that sort of style. It does have an aura of being generic, mainly because this is how most of the games made with the RPG Maker engine look, but it's well done nonetheless. I never looked at anything in the game and said, oh, that's just ugly. It's a good looking game, even if it's not the most impressive looking game. The lessons are nice. Calming music plays in the background as you're told about each Hiragana character. Unfortunately, you are going to have to break out the notebook and do some old school learning, as Misaki will ask you to practice writing each character. Even though this is by far the least fun part of the game, it's actually very beneficial, as you'll more than likely need to recall back to earlier sets of characters later in the game. And although you have the option to revisit an earlier lesson with Misaki, it's a lot easier to be able to flip through a notebook. Throughout my 15-hour playthrough, I took several pages of notes, which gave me a much needed crutch. You see, Hiragana Battle doesn't do a great job of mixing up all the characters throughout the game. You'll go hours and hours without seeing some of the earlier characters, and if you don't have a great memory, like myself, then you're going to have to look back into your notebook and see which character is which. There are many characters that look nearly identical, with the only difference being the stroke of the final line. Which brings me to my next qualm with the game, the confusing font. Most of the time we see Japanese characters typed out. Whether that be on a website or in a game, you usually see the same font. Hiragana Battle includes this font in the game in their menus, but when Misaki teaches you how to write the characters, and when the characters show up in battle, they're a more stylized version. Oftentimes they look different than what we read as normal Japanese font, and this can also make things very confusing for beginners. However, it does teach you to recognize the characters in different fonts, so it can be a good thing. I was able to triumph over all of that and push forward, and soon after, I started recognizing Hiragana characters on Twitter from all the Japanese wrestling posts I see, and from the man himself, Mother/Earthbound creator Shigesato Itoi. And I kept going forward. And then I started recognizing Japanese words. And that excitement continued to push me through to the end of the game. One of the more interesting things that Hiragana Battle does is towards the end of the game, it'll start listing items, weapons, and armor in Japanese only. So you'll have to be able to read the word in Japanese to understand what you're buying. There is a side quest where some dude in Japan really wanted a manga issue, and I had to go down to the convenience store, look at their items that were only listed in Japanese, and then read and buy the correct item to give to him. The feeling I got when I read manga in Japanese was euphoric. It was a sign that the game was truly working. Along with the main quests, you'll have side quests. Most of these are fetch quests, but all of them teach you new vocabulary. You can also acquire special points from these side quests to help boost the levels of your party members. Every RPG element about this game is pretty standard and basic. You're not going to see any new functions. You fight enemies to earn money, you spend that money on better weapons and armor, you level up to get stronger, and you save after every battle. If all of your party members die in Hiragana Battle, it'll reload your last save, so make sure that you're saving every few minutes. Hiragana Battle isn't a perfect game by any means. It has issues both on the RPG side and on the teaching side. I would have liked to have seen some form of mnemonic teaching in the game, aka helping the player remember by relating the character to something else, like a kangaroo for Roo or a pigtail for Sue. But then again, maybe it's best to just leave that up to the player. Even with its flaws, Hiragana Battle is well worth $7. $7 will teach you all the characters in the Hiragana set, plus grammar and punctuation, vocabulary, and even some common phrases. And it will do it in a way that keeps you engaged. It's about time someone used the grind of RPGs for an educational purpose. The repetitiveness of Hiragana Battle drills the characters into your skull until it's impossible for you to forget. I'm sure it's been done before, but learning the Japanese language through a traditional JRPG is just about the best combination you can come up with. The developers, Sleepy Duck Educational Games, have plans for a sequel that will teach the next phase of the Japanese language, which they plan to call Katakana War. It's good to know that you can invest in Hiragana Battle and be able to continue forth at some point in the same style. I will definitely be buying Katakana War, and if you're interested in learning Japanese, I highly recommend you pick up Hiragana Battle. I give it 4 stars out of 5. Arigatou gozaimasu.